Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Isaiah, and today I wanted to do a video that's a little bit different. I've done a couple sit-down videos like this, and I have one that I'm that I'm editing right now. So today I figured I would read some Reddit stories. Now, this idea is definitely not my own original idea, and it definitely, isn't anything new. People have been reading Reddit stories for a minute. A little ASMR. So I like watching those videos and those TikToks, and I know that you guys do, so I figured, why the hell not? So I'm gonna be reading like a couple from the Am I the Asshole Reddit page, and then I'm gonna also try to find some scary Reddit stories. And then I'm also going to be reading a couple from the No Sleep Reddit page. So, yeah. Am I the asshole for not allowing a friend to move in with me? I, 19 female, come from a wealthy family. Even so, I had a job since I turned 16. My parents got me a car, but I had to pay for my own insurance and gas. I had a limit for how much my birthday and Christmas gifts cost. When I graduated high school and was accepted into a good college, my parents gave me a choice. I live in dorms, they pay for everything, I just get a bit of spending money, but they won't have a say in my life at all since I'm an adult. Or 2, I live in a 2-bedroom apartment they own in the city, doorman, gym, pool, and cleaning service. They pay for everything and I have more spending money. In exchange, I have to promise to keep a high GPA, no recreational drug use, no alcohol until I turn 21, and to not have any roommates. Then when I'm a junior, the deed to the apartment transfers to my name. I accepted the second choice and it has been great. I'm an introvert, so I appreciate my space. The problem is that a friend I made in the beginning of the semester wanted to move in and I declined. She comes from a middle-class family, paying for her school using student loans, just normal. The first time she was over, she started making some tasteless remarks. Must be nice to never work a day in your life. Must be nice to have mommy and daddy wait on you hand and foot. When she wouldn't stop, I just started distancing myself from her. She has been having problems with her roommate from the get-go, but yesterday she just couldn't take it anymore. She asked me in front of all of our friend group if she could move in with me. I said no, she can't. She called me an entitled trust fund baby who didn't know what the normal man's struggles are and stormed off. Now all my friends say that I am the asshole, that I have the space and it wouldn't cost me anything. I could just lie to my parents and they wouldn't know. I disagree, but I thought better to ask because if they don't give it a rest, I am planning to cut them all off. I don't need that kind of negativity in my life. Am I the asshole? I should mention at the beginning that I am going to be discussing my thoughts on these. So, no. I think that given the way that this girl is presenting herself, it seems that the issues with her roommate might not necessarily be because of the roommate. Because if she's already making these rude-ass remarks and kind of like not being a good friend, then I think that there's more to her roommate story than she's letting on to. And also, you're not entitled to let your friends move in with you just because they ask. Like, you like having your own space. You're in a place where you're fortunate enough to have your own space and not have to worry about anybody else. And you also knew going into that space that you wouldn't be able to have any roommates. You could have friends over and everything, but you couldn't have a roommate. And it also doesn't seem like you like this girl that much enough to actually let her live in your space. So you're not the asshole. And if your friends continue pressuring you like that, yeah, I say cut them off. Because it's like, they have no reason inserting themselves in business that doesn't actually, at the end of the day, that issue is between you and the friend, not you, your friend, and the entire friend group. So, no, you're not the asshole. Ooh, tea, bitch. Am I the asshole for telling my sister her wedding can't come before my daughter's therapy? My sister is getting married in January. My husband and I planned to attend her wedding until mid-August when we learned about a new form of therapy that could help our daughter who was 7. Our only downside is the new therapy is very expensive, but it meant she could stay home with us versus getting inpatient treatment. For some context, she has diagnosed general anxiety disorder and separation anxiety, and it has meant she has been unable to live a normal life. School is impossible, regular therapy hasn't helped, and neither have the meds she has been on. Day-to-day for her is next to impossible. It started showing at age 4 and just keeps getting worse. So far, we're early days into the new therapy, but I think we have noticed some changes. Nothing big, but it's enough to make us hopeful that this will be what helps her. To afford it, we need to get into debt, and it was to help our daughter, so for us, the wedding was secondary. I told my sister what was going on before we took out the loan we needed, and she was not happy. She told me to wait and just let regular therapy do what it needs to, and if after her wedding, if our daughter still needs therapy, then we could take out the loans we need, but at least we would have her wedding out of the way first. I told my sister her wedding can't come before my daughter's therapy, and since her wedding would require me to fly and pay for a hotel on top of everything else, then I can't put us into more debt or ignore the debt to save her wedding. She's mad at me. I understand her anger and hurt, but I just can't. And she's frustrating me because it's not the first time she has asked to come first. When I had just given birth, 2 days after to be exact, she was hurt I wouldn't fly to Hawaii with her and some friends for an early birthday celebration. Another time she wanted me to pass up on a job so she could get it. So I'm used to her wanting to be put first, but this, just the way she wanted our daughter's therapy to wait for her wedding, that she acknowledged we would still get into debt, but she wanted her wedding to be first and all this, I don't know. Part of me feels guilty, yet another part of me feels like she's wrong. And it's becoming a bigger and bigger issue. Am I the asshole? Girl, fuck no. For the remainder of this video, I will have a cough drop in my mouth. Excuse me. Hell no. You're not the asshole because your daughter has been suffering since at least 4 years old. Like, she is not able to live a normal life away from you guys, and that's not only disruptive for her, but that's disruptive for you guys as well, and you deserve to have some sort of peace of mind just as much as she does. So the fact that your sister can't understand that, and the fact that your sister was also so willing right off the bat to let you go into debt, that like speaks volumes about your sister and shows that like she doesn't care about what other people are going through as long as you're able to do what she wants. So yeah, fuck your sister. You're not the asshole. Your sister is the asshole. And I hope that you can get the help for your daughter that you need, and that everything works out for y'all in the end. And I hope that debt doesn't put you in serious harm. What the fuck? Okay, I just found one and now I'm interested as shit. Am I the asshole for putting chicken leftovers in the fridge that I share with my vegan girlfriend? My girlfriend and I have been together for 3 years and have shared an apartment for the past 2. She has been a vegan since childhood and has very strong feelings about animal welfare and the environment. I'm more of a flexitarian, but part of the agreement when we got together was that I couldn't eat any meat around my girlfriend. I will occasionally eat meat at lunch when I'm out with my coworkers, family, or friends if there aren't vegan options, but never at home. I've learned to cook fantastic vegan dishes and don't consider it a major loss. It's worth noting that our vegan groceries are shared, and we often cook enough food for leftovers for both of us. I have a regular 9-to-5 job, but my girlfriend is a nurse and works 3 long shifts each week, so she often gets home late and very hungry. So I usually cook dinner and leave it in the fridge for her. So here's the conflict. Yesterday evening, my parents had me over for dinner. They cooked a shredded chicken pasta dish that was delicious, but they made more than they could eat. Since they were leaving on a trip the following morning, they asked me to take the leftovers in a sealed Tupperware dish. I don't like wasting food, and I figured I would just take it to work with me for lunch. When I got home, I put the Tupperware in the fridge and went to bed. I woke up in the middle of the night when I heard my girlfriend shout from the kitchen. I jumped out of bed and found her looking shocked at the counter. I noticed the open Tupperware container, and she realized that she had gotten home late and started to eat the leftovers from my parents. She said it tasted like meat and asked if it was. Yes. She then asked me why there was a meat dish in the fridge when our agreement is that this is a vegan home. I told her that it was from my parents and I didn't want to waste food and planned on bringing it to work. She asked why I didn't at least label it to warn her. I apologized, but could tell she was upset. She called me an insensitive jerk and said it was the first time she can remember eating meat since childhood. She ended up sleeping on the couch. I left in the morning before she was awake, but here at work I'm wondering if I'm the asshole for breaking our food agreement, even though I was just trying to avoid wasting food. I don't think you're an asshole. Because I don't know, this one's kind of tricky. You're not an asshole, but you should have labeled that it was meat. But it's also like, yeah, your girlfriend is used to there just already being leftovers in the fridge. But I think that you, regardless of whether or not you're accustomed to that, you should always look at what you eat before you start eating it. Like, I also feel like you kind of know what Tupperware you have. Like, most people have, like, different Tupperware. So, like the Tupperware that I have here at home is different than the Tupperware that, like, my cousins have. Or that, like, my aunties and uncles will bring food in. So, I don't necessarily think they're an asshole. I understand why she's mad. Because she has been vegan since childhood, like you said. That's a heavy commitment. And, you know, I understand her frustration. I also understand where you're coming from with not wanting to waste food. I'm a big person on that too. I hate when I end up wasting food. And it's also like, you knew that your parents were going on a trip out of the country, or they were going on a trip, they weren't going to be home, and that food was just going to end up going to waste. So your heart was definitely in the right place. It's just kind of like a situation where both parties messed up, because yeah, you should have labeled it, but she should have checked what she was eating beforehand. And it's also like, you were trying to do a good thing by not letting food waste, because I feel like that kind of comes in hand with being vegetarian, vegan, or flexitarian. Hold on, what? Pardon the interruption while my brother comes. We're ordering food because I don't feel good and I want soup. So I'm gonna finish this commentary and then I'm gonna go get soup. Anyway, yeah, like, you're not the asshole for that. It's not your fault. I say just do something to get back into your partner's good graces, and also try to, again, explain the situation in a way that, like, doesn't demonize her, but also doesn't take away from her feelings, because if you validate her feelings, she'll understand, because it seems like you're trying to do that too. You don't seem like you were putting the blame on her, and obviously this is hurting you too, because you don't like when she's mad at you. So just come back to it when you can. Ooh, I think my mom was cursed by a Wendigo. Okay. This does have a trigger warning at the top, mentions of animal abuse and dismemberment. Every family member of mine, including myself, has had an encounter with the paranormal or supernatural at one point in their lives. From the little people that kept my great aunt company as she lay dying in the hospital bed, to myself making successful contact with something through a Ouija board. But this I don't have an explanation for. Even as someone who believes in these things, I always try to ration the mundane over the magical. However, after delving into learning more about a certain mythological cryptid, I can only come to one conclusion surrounding my mother's passing in the spring of this year. I used to live in the mountains in Northern California with my mom, who was a single mother, and the place we stayed at was the house that was owned by my aunt. It was a historical house with well over 200 years of history on the property, and being rebuilt and altered through the decades. This house was situated in the thick of the wooded mountain and forest stretched for miles beyond. In front of the yard was a wall about 3 feet high, and on top was a hill that inclined upwards, back some 10 yards of grass that terminated at a fence. Beyond that was just woods and a small hiking trail. When we moved into this house, I was just starting first grade, and what I'm about to tell of has been happening regularly until we moved out when I was in middle school. My mom was also deeply spiritual and also believed in the supernatural. I don't think she knew what she had possibly encountered. When I was sent off to school, my mom stayed back at the house to do paperwork for an ongoing custody battle. When she was alone or when I was out of sight was when it started happening. She would hear my voice shouting for her from the front yard, yet she knew that I was not home at the time, nor would I have been. The first few times it happened, she wrote it off as her hearing things, since she is hard of hearing in one ear. The longer we lived there, the more seemingly uncomfortable things would feel or experience. I had never liked that house. I always felt like I was being watched in one way or another, especially outside, coming from just beyond the property fence. A few times she was with some family friends out on the back porch that overlooked some sparse patches of forest in the valley. She would invite them over when I was at school so that she can focus on relaxing. That's when she heard my voice again, calling to her from the wooded patch. This time, her friends also heard it. Confused, they asked my mom shouldn't I have been at school at the time, and why was I playing outside in the woods. I wasn't, and she told them that. At the same time, around the times that my mom was supposedly heard my voice, a foul smell would linger around the property when I would come home or find my mom if I was inside the house. My mom would keep asking me if I was really at school today, and I didn't just skip school. I always answered honestly that I was at school. The most vivid memory that my mom had of an encounter with an unwelcome friend on or around our property was one night in 2014 when I was in 4th grade. A magnitude 6 earthquake hit an adjacent county. Our property was very close to that county and she was literally shaken awake. Note, the bedroom we were sleeping in had the bed right next to a glass sliding door that faced the backyard. She tried to wake me up, but I was a heavy sleeper. Then she smelled the foul scent again. 2 yellow eyes in our backyard caught her eyes. As she stared at this intruder in our backyard, the aftershock hit. Thankfully, we were far away enough from the epicenter that the only damage done to the property was a crack in the tiles of the backyard deck and also running along the floor surrounding a pool we had. Another incident was that we used to keep chickens for eggs for a few months. We had the family handyman build an automatic closing coop so that the door would close just before sunset, to keep the chickens safe from mountain lions and other things that would eat chickens. Along with a metal fence, not the chicken wire kind, but the heavy-duty ones that are used in construction sites, coop on all sides, including the top, to keep out the mountain lions, since a few were recently spotted in the nearby regional park. This was something that came from my own memory. At first, it was just one chicken that ended up drowned in the bottom of our pool. After that, we put a padlock on the gate to the coop. Then, one late morning, I was out hunting for frogs in the pool filter when I saw my aunt, mom, and family handyman, the same one that built the coop, look at the coop, shocked and worried. The metal fencing of the coop was of one side had been completely ripped open, and inside the coop was a bloodbath. I came to take a closer look at the scene when I heard the handyman say, "I'm not sure this was a mountain lion. None of the chickens are eaten or missing. Their heads are all severed, and a mountain lion would have eaten those. They don't hunt and kill for fun." We also had no neighbors or people for at least a few miles that could have played this quote-unquote prank on us. And the thing I remember the most was not the dismembered chickens, but the smell of rotting flesh, even though the chickens looked like they were just killed the night before. Looking back, it felt like we were being taunted by this thing, or at least my mom was for some reason. When we still lived at that house, and even after we moved, misfortune followed us wherever we went. My mom got into a 5-year-long abusive relationship and developed breast cancer when I was in high school. She was a very healthy woman with no family history of breast cancer, and it would go away and come back just when she thought she was finally done with the chemo and treatment and all that. I had at some point in my teens gotten into cryptids and specifically Native American folklore. If what I assume about her experiences are correct, I have heard that even if you evade death by the Wendigo, it will find another way to kill you. Doctors she would visit would express confusion as she was low risk in getting breast cancer, let alone having it keep coming back, since they caught it early the first time. Though we had long left the house, it felt like the memories, the fear, it was always following her. In her last months alive when I was with her, she kept having dreams of that old house, of my voice beyond the woods, beckoning her for her to come. Dreams about a thing that looked like a man but wasn't exactly, bearing the same yellow glowing eyes she saw outside the night of the earthquake. She felt as if these recurring dreams were trying to tell her something. She had hoped it was something good and not malevolent. In fact, it did have my own voice after all. Last year, in the fires, the house burnt down, and this year in the spring, my mom passed away. Looking back, it feels like the pieces fit together for this. Everything from her diagnosis to how her cancer had behaved felt so off. It could be that she was cursed by this thing, or maybe there was no supernatural explanation, but it still lingers in the back of my mind. Ooky spooky, giving a little kooky, my goodness. Yeah, that was a good story. That was really good. I know I started a couple times, and that's definitely because the story was not written to my grammatical standards. Also, I'm dyslexic. So, yummy. Okay, I'm gonna do one more. Oh shit, I needed to fucking copy that. Damn. I gotta save the thing. Copy. Okay. Ooh, should we do I Think I Have a Stalker? Okay, this one doesn't seem that long, so I'm gonna read this one and then that'll be the last one. I think I had a stalker. I'm 18 and I live by myself. My apartment is in a quiet corner of the city, the so-called safest area in Manhattan. When I moved into this apartment, I was almost 17. It has been just a year that I've lived here. Just a few months ago, I noticed I was getting tens of phone calls from a blocked number in the middle of the night. In the beginning, I had assumed it was some stupid prankster, maybe my friends. But every time I would block the number the next morning, a new one would do the same thing, the next night. I eventually caught one of them and answered, only to hear a faint breathing on the other end. This did not really faze me as much as I now think it should have, but it kept coming. These calls went from 10 a night to 30 to 40. I kept telling myself whoever it was would eventually stop, and just living my life around it. Turning my phone off at night, not answering the calls I was awake to see, just avoiding it all. About a week after the call started, I noticed the same person at my work every single day. I am a small town model, not very well known, not famous illiterate! Not famous enough to have a stalker. I guess I should say I didn't know I was stalker material. He wore a black hoodie, blue jeans, and old high tops. He would always stand outside the office area across the street or hang out in the halls of the building. Every time I noticed him, he would either play it off cool like he was tying his shoes or texting, but I knew. He wore the same shit every single day for weeks. It got to the point where people were asking me if I knew him because this guy was everywhere I was. The grocery store, there he was in the aisle. Car wash, there he was across the street. My dog's fucking vet, he was outside. He was every single place I went. Unlike public areas anyone could coincidentally be, places like my dog's vet an hour from my house or walking through the underground car park of my gym. I do admit, I don't think I took it seriously enough at first, but this one day was where I had enough of it. I woke up, got dressed, and went to work. I headed up the elevator to get to my floor, and the receptionist stopped me. Someone dropped off a gift for you. He said you went on a date last night and he forgot to give it to you. I put it on your chair upstairs, she said, smiling. I thanked her, extremely confused and somewhat scared, knowing deep down it was from him. I got upstairs and was the only one early for the shoot, alone in the big room. There on the chair, with my name on the back, was a perfectly wrapped present, with a little note reading, "For you, my sweet. Aaliyah, I love you." My birthday was nowhere near, and no holidays were close enough for this. I did not have a boyfriend, and I was not on a date the night before. The only logical thing was it being from High Tops. I didn't open it, though. I waited until I got home that night. I got home, put it on the kitchen table, and untied the ribbon. The smell that came from the box makes me nauseous to think about to this day. There was a fucking dead rat in it, with those candy be mine things where its eyes should have been. Oh my god, tea. Next to it, there was an envelope. I stupidly opened it to find photos and photos of me. Taken from my window at night of me cleaning, wrapped in a towel, photos of me leaving work and getting in my car, photos of me doing everything you can think of. The back of each photo had a timestamp of when it was taken and where and why. The why was the reason as to why this person needed a photo of me doing this activity, and let me tell you, the back of these photos was straight sexual harassment. Now, here is where I understand I fucked myself over. I threw it all in the garbage. For some reason, I didn't want to draw attention to it. The media had just gotten over the scandal of my friend, and I didn't need any more on my plate. I knew I should have called the cops or something, but I didn't. When I got to work the next day, I had told my receptionist to deny any gifts or letters and call me the second someone asks for me. I wanted to figure this out on my own, not with the authorities. This was all about a month into the situation. Now, if you think the photos and rat were the worst of it, trust me, so did I. I started noticing things in my apartment being moved, and the door being unlocked or my keys going missing. I'm telling you right now, I locked my front door at night. Especially since all of this, I will never forget. As for the keys, I care more about my keys than my dog at times. They would never leave my sight. Something was very wrong when I woke up one day to a candle being lit at my kitchen table, the door being unlocked, and the thermostat 10 degrees different than what I set it to the night before. Nobody believed me, but someone was in my house. Someone had come in the night, and they were here, right now. I had this sick feeling that they would see me where I was standing in my sweatpants and t-shirt. It was 6 a.m. Nobody was awake, and I was standing in the kitchen door frame staring at the lit candle. It wasn't my candle. I did not light it. As soon as I was Bitch, I'm getting stressed. I'm getting fucking stressed. Oh my god. As soon as I was about to bolt out the door, I felt an overwhelming need to go and lock the patio door. I locked it, took a few steps back, and every scared feeling went away. That was 3 days ago. I sit here writing this after a snowstorm hit us, and I deadbolted the door. Nothing bad has happened since. Nobody has been around. I haven't seen the man, and my phone has been normal. I know he is frozen or dead on my patio. It's back-facing, so nobody would notice. I live on the 20th floor. He could not have escaped. I'm not checking. I like it this way. I have not been unbothered. Sure, there is a dead man on my patio, but I'm fine now, so I guess I should say I had a stalker. Girl. Now what the fuck? Now what the fuck? Okay, hey, this is Isaiah so my camera just filled up the SD card, which I didn't think would happen for a while, but I have had this card for like a couple months, so I'm not surprised. Anyways, but yeah, just like, comment, subscribe, follow me on all my social medias. It'll be linked in the description box down below. So yeah, that is it for the video, and I'll see you next time. Bye.